GM. Excuse me. GM. So, we're going to look at ETH here. And I think that, especially on ETH, every time ETH goes for a run and it breaks out, it always gets people excited first and then cucks them. Yeah? So, big breakout on ETH, gets everyone excited, flushes them out. Breaks out again, flushes back inside. Breaks out again, and only then, when it breaks out and spends several days trading and holding outside range, does it go for a big run. As for right now, you can sort of see both of those as a possibility. I'm of the belief that it probably goes lower, although there's already quite a bit of fear around ETH. Just because of the move Bitcoin had yesterday, people are just like, well, alts are next. And a lot of that will depend on the altcoin moves over the weekend. So I said this to you guys yesterday. Here's what usually happens next. People didn't buy the dip because they're scared. Smart money bought. Over the weekend, dumb money realizes alt season. So now we're on Saturday, Sunday. You're already seeing coins like Sui, running hard and not caring, and a few altcoins breaking out. It's alt season, right? It doesn't mean everything's going to go up, but this is the time now where alts, especially the lower cap ones, will really run. Because nobody, and I repeat, nobody expects Bitcoin to go much higher in the short term. So, you might think that's bad for Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's led us since January 2023. It's been going up. It's led the market for 12 months. So, it's fine now for Bitcoin to take a back seat and for alts to run. Now, as we get into the end of the weekend or even into next week, basically people will realize it's alt season, they'll get more and more long. So what I want you to watch is the funding and the open interest across the alt market, which right now is basically flat, neutral, ticking up slightly. You can see Bitcoin already ticking towards, as you can see if you put it on the funding rate, already ticking towards negative, which is hilarious. There's going to be a massive squeeze at some point, but not so soon, I don't think. Funding rate global and open interest global. I think these are the ones to watch. Where you're just looking at the altcoin market itself. Take away Bitcoin, take away ETH. Take away Bitcoin, take away ETH. And then just watch this and how it progresses over the weekend, right? So Bitcoin is going sideways. Altcoin OI is starting to tick up. Funding still mostly flat. So no warning signs there yet. It needs to rise and continue to go higher. So there's plenty of room for that. And then after that point, there'll be a nice big dip. That's the one to buy, ride it for a couple of weeks into our alt season. Now, I don't think that's going to come right away. Maybe it will. I'm sort of in two minds, because Ethereum has loads of room to go lower, right? It can just if it can fill back in all of this move that it did and fill it in quite quickly, to just basically where anyone who chased into this move, it goes straight up, right? And then just in the same exact shape, really, it goes straight down, and then we start again, and then Ethereum runs from there. That could happen. I don't think it will, because the strength of Ethereum relative to Bitcoin has been a real tell from the market, so I don't expect that to happen. And I think what's more likely is that Ethereum, to me right now, unless it can make a new high, this looks like impulse and we're in the correction, right? So impulse correction, which means chop sideways, leg down, chop sideways, leg down, and then away it goes, right? That's something like what I would expect to see if it doesn't go and make clean new highs right away. And that would again just be pretty normal for Ethereum, normal type of price action. The alternative to that is we hold here and we sweep, meaning it stays in this area and it maybe sweeps that low but stays there and starts to build up. In that case, it'll break out and then the flush will come after, like that, and away we go. In either way, or in either case, I should say, I think that there's an opportunity to buy 2400, maybe just touching into 22s at some point. It depends on what way the market moves. If it's still gripped with fear now, and we chop sideways and go lower, then you get a chance to buy ETH in the next few days. If ETH sweeps the lows and bullish and rallies up, guess what? It's going to break out. Everyone's going to totally forget. Remember this. Burn this into your brain. Everyone's going to totally forget about all the bearishness and all the Bitcoin and all the ETFs if ETH goes up to 3,000. But if ETH goes up to 3,000 without hitting any of this, it leaves room for a nice, deep leverage wick, wrecking any leverage moon boys, wrecking any leverage traders on altcoins, and then big bounce, away it goes into its final form, whatever. That doesn't have to go to 3k, by the way. It can just go to 27, 28. I don't know. I'm not here to predict price, but I am saying watch when ETH makes a new high, because it will. ETH's going to go to 2800. I have no doubt about that. Watch when it goes there. What has it left behind? Has it left behind an inefficiency and a gap and room for a shakeout, like the red path? Or has it taken the blue path and actually filled that in and retested? If it's done that, the breakout's more sustainable. And so, with that in mind, you want to look at, I need a fresh chart of ETH. We'll look here. You want to compare ETH and Bitcoin, right? Because this is really where ETH is going to make its tops and bottoms. So, I think, like I said, the most important thing to look at here is BTC on the low time frames as your guide for ETH. So here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is rock solid support level at 40k all the way down, 40 to 42 and everywhere in between. So if Bitcoin just grinds down and chops sideways in this area, then Ethereum is probably going to be stronger, meaning it'll rally up, but then it'll leg down, and it'll bounce again, and it'll leg down, and then it'll start to run much harder than Bitcoin and earlier. So at each stage, here and here, ETH will outperform, right? It will still go down when Bitcoin goes down, but again, it'll bounce harder, and it might take out the lows, and it'll rally first off the lows. So you have to keep in mind, you can't just watch Ethereum, because it does depend. It fully depends what Bitcoin does. Now, if for some reason Bitcoin has a strong rally up first, right? People are getting too aggressively short. We've left a nice long wick. And going into the weekend, going into Sunday, people are too short on Bitcoin, and you see a nice squeeze up, but it's actually just squeeze up before we bleed down to the lows again. That's where you'll see the second path I had in mind. And that would be where Ethereum goes whoosh, new highs, right? Gets everyone excited, flush them out, all the way back down, and then away it goes again. So there's how I can see those paths progressing. Do you understand this? I've seen this a million times. If Bitcoin has a nice strong move up, but you see Ethereum just ripping, that's a clear sign, if we've left all this behind, that there's probably going to be a pullback to take out that. Now, it doesn't have to go this deep, I just mean a pullback of some kind. But understand that this is the best possible time to be trading Ethereum or alts, because we finally got a clear range on Bitcoin. And as long as it goes sideways, right? If Bitcoin crashes to mid 30s, then fucking it's going to wreck the market for a few months. Because it's just going to be, I mean, it's probably going to wreck some charts, but I don't think that's going to happen, put it simply. So if Bitcoin spends some time between 40, 45, but really for me, the kind of like 40 and 42, 43, because I think it'll be suppressed by the grayscale selling. As long as Bitcoin's going sideways, alts can run. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the alts, mostly led by ETH, along with Bitcoin, and take my plays on that. So if you want to long alts, you want to wait for Bitcoin to retest range low, which currently is about 40 to 41. it hit that last night and bounced. So here's not really a great place to get long alts in my opinion, because Bitcoin I think will go back down. It will go below that low. It will go to 40, 41, 40.8, 40.6, whatever. And if it goes there, that's going to be a better time to buy alts. And just the thing you don't want to do is when Bitcoin bounces and goes up here, the last thing you want to do is buy alts, like short term trade to get long alts up here. It's a terrible idea, because that's Bitcoin at 45 into this massive breakdown. Everyone's going to sell it. It's going to bleed back down. That's if you have a quick bounce. Whereas if you have the other path, one of the other paths which I talked about on daily levels, this is a totally different story then, right? If you see Bitcoin chop sideways at the lows, get everyone bearish, and then move up, that's not bad at all. That's when Bitcoin's probably going to make new highs. So it depends on whether you get a quick bounce now because people are too short, which will probably lead us back down to the lows, or you get a sideways chop. Yeah? So keep those two paths in mind. I think we get one of those two. If we don't get a big flush lower, I think we get one of these two. So, and I'll trade ETH based on that. I'm obviously long ETH. I own a bunch of spot ETH, and if I'm going to trade on top of it, I'll trade around this rough plan. That's it. GM. See you later at 5 p.m. UTC live stream. GM.